I wanted to share some of the things that have been rattling around me and inside of me as of late. And my trigger for sharing this with you was actually yesterday, right before I was about to go to sleep. Um, I watched some YouTube videos and this person popped up on my feed and she was a tarot card reader and she did a reading for Ireland. And she something about the things that she said were exactly what had been in my periphery and exactly what I had been um let's say agitated in the energy to do, like, believe me when I tell you this is not in my I never thought this would be in my idea of things to take action on would be to, speak to my Irish tribe and relatives and cousins and brothers and sisters in the homeland of Ireland. I didn't think this was going to be something that I would be doing, yet here I am. But why I have that drive comes down to two things. One is years ago when I'm going to say I was about 15. So I was a teenager, but I was really starting to get deep interest in my ancestry. And so I was asking my grandparents, about our ancestry and our relatives and about them and where they came from um and on both sides. And my dad's side was very shut down about the ancestry and like there was a lot of suppression there and shame and but my mom's side was very proud, right? And really were setting the record straight, right, on what is the difference between Irish and everyone else, um I can tell some of those stories later, but so I was in that I was getting interested in the traditional spirituality, of being connected to nature. And I, learned things about the druids. And I mean, I had spent all of my time out in nature. I grew up out in the forest. So I was always, always, always out in the woods. And so that made sense to me. And there were things about the way I even did things or moved that were very much inherent. And there was one evening where I went out to feed the horses and I was coming back. I didn't feed them, I actually gave them water. So I was watering the horses. And I was coming back and it was snowing. So I was coming back from the barn to the house and it was snowing. And I just sat down in the snow and just listened to the tinkling of the sound of the snowflakes hitting the the snow that was on the ground as it was falling from the sky. And all of the sudden I just stepped into it was me, but it was another version of me. And I was female and I was standing and picking up these gigantic pieces of wood. And I had like a wooden wheelbarrow in front of me. And I was picking up these pieces of wood and putting them in this wheelbarrow. And I looked to my side and I saw two men, one on each side of this giant saw. And they were sawing down this gigantic tree. I mean, this tree was so big and so old, you could have lived inside of it. It was like It was like the size of those giant redwoods that are in Northern California or in British Columbia. It was just massive. And we, it was clear when I saw them. We were just so, and I'm getting chills as I'm telling the story, so devastated by what was happening. But the feeling was that there was no choice. It was do this or die. And and inside of our hearts there was this rebellion that was festering, this desire to make this wrong a right. Yet here we were being forced to do the wrong itself. And there were other people there that were clearly um, you know, evil, evil people that were in charge, let's say. And I looked around after seeing the two men. I looked around and I saw that there was an entire, what used to be a grove, and that there were multiple trees cut already in that grove, and there was still one other huge tree still standing besides the one that they were cutting. And it was clear that me picking up that wood, I was picking up that wood and putting it in a wheelbarrow and driving it to a huge bonfire. And so it was already known that not only do you have to cut your own sacred groves, you won't be able to use any of the wood for anything that you want for yourselves. So we wouldn't be able to build with it. We wouldn't be able to build fires with it. We wouldn't be able to do anything but use the ashes to fertilize our fields, if that. Um, and it was a very strong experience. It was a very powerful experience, and it was like it collected a piece of myself back together, of just this huge ancestral loss that is beyond memory, right? And that has always sat with me, that experience. And it comes back to me often, often, often. And the other night, so recently, I've stepped away from that aspect of myself for a long time, to be honest with you, and didn't really talk about it much, didn't really talk about, being an Irish descent much, nothing. And then all of a sudden, it's like it just came rushing back recently with this very strong push to reconnect. So I have been. I went and I really studied all of my ancestors and just kind of reread all of the ancestry stuff that I had collected from my grandparents during that period of time, and rereading it now as an adult and rereading it now as a mother, and just really deeply reconnecting with that aspect. And I've suddenly been feeling this very strong presence of my great grandmother. And I even found where the actual place that she lived as a child in Galway. And, I was like, okay, there's this reconnection. There's a push to reconnect there. There's a push to learn the language. There's this push to, and I had in the past, but I don't remember any of it. So I relearning the language. And the other night I was sleeping. It was 2 in the morning, and I know it was her, and I felt her whisper in my ear in Gwalaga. And I woke up immediately, and I had the same feeling I have felt when someone has passed, right? So it's like, it's someone on the other side. It's a person that's passed. And so I thought, "Oh, that's not good. What is that?" And I stayed up for a while, and the strange thing was is that all the birds were singing at night, which never happens. So I could hear all the birds singing, and I thought, "Well, that's strange." But I slowly fell back asleep and then woke up almost immediately again to I had a camera, a new camera that I've been playing with on my bed, and it for sure was off when I went to sleep, and it came on suddenly and made like noises and was recording video. And I was like, what in the world? So then I knew, okay, someone is here, right? And they're trying to talk to me. And that's when I felt an even stronger urge that it is a part of my family's blood, right? It's a part of our roles in the tribe, I would say, is to mobilize the people, to reinvigorate the people, to reconnect them. And so, yeah, hearing that tarot card reading just kind of like pulled that all together, of the people reconnecting, and that there's a complacency that's happening right now, and that there's those of us that come together to mobilize, to wake the people up. So I hope that helps awaken something within you. And I love to always hear your feedback, of course, or your 2 cents or your comments, and share your experiences with that. Is there some element of this that's also wrestling, wrestling inside of you for this time for the Irish people? So, with that, like and follow for more, and I'll see you next time.